Hello, chart watchers and Decision Point faithful. Welcome to this Monday, October 26th, 2020 episode of Decision Point. I'm Erin Swenlin. My father, Carl, could not join us today, but I'm sure he will be back soon. Everything's fine. It's my job, our job, to prepare you for the week ahead. And I have so much information to share with you today. So I am just going to hop right on into it. I hope you like looking at a lot of stock charts because we're going to be going through quite a few. First of all, we had PMO sell signals on all of our Decision Point scoreboard indexes. That would be the S&P 500, NASDAQ, OEX, and Dow. So I'll show you those charts and we'll look at some of the indicators for those charts. But, you know, we've lost momentum in the markets. I think that's pretty obvious. We've got a short-term declining trend, so it shouldn't be that much of a surprise to see these sell signals coming up on those scoreboard indexes. Then here's where we're going to go through quite a few different charts. I'm going to get through as many as I can. But this week is big earnings from a lot of big names this week. And so again, in preparation for the week ahead, I wanted to go over some of those big names and the earnings that they're going to be reporting this week. I couldn't tell you exactly if they're going to have good earnings, bad earnings. And I can tell you my friend Tom Boley always says that he does not like to hold through and into earnings. So you can make your own decision about that. But we will look at a lot of those charts and see if they are poised for a breakout on earnings or not. Then, of course, I'm going to look at the dollar and gold. We'll look at those together. I have some information to share for you there. And then, of course, we will finish with the diamond of the week. And I think it'll be an interesting one. I did present it on Thursday of last week to my diamond subscribers, but I think that today it had a bit of a pullback. And it's in an area of the market that I very much like. So let's go ahead and get right on into what's going on right now. I'm going to just go straight over here and show you these PMO sell signals that have occurred. You could get this from the StockCharts.com homepage. Just click that More button and then DP signals, and that way you can have that all the time. S&P 500 though, there you go, PMO sell signal. NASDAQ, we looked at that. Also the Dow sell signal. You can see we do have a long-term sell signal on the Dow. It'll be interesting to see after the end of the month whether that's still going to be there, but my guess is that it will, but we can take a quick peek at that chart as well. And then, of course, like I said, S&P 100, same thing. We've got PMO sell signals across the board. So let's go ahead and I'm going to dive in and let's look at some of those charts. We'll start, of course, with the S&P. In fact, this is the SPY, but same thing happened for it today with a PMO negative crossover here. Let me get this out of the way for you. All right, so as you can see, we've been in this declining trend channel. I note that we did come down with that tail today and test the our 2020 top here from February. You can't see it obviously on the 5-month chart, but we came down and we're testing that level, but we also broke down below this declining trend channel. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. You can also see that the 20-day EMA also posed as overhead resistance today. Prior to that, we've been able to stay above that 20-day EMA. Now we've broken down below it. This is the moment of truth now for the market, and that is at this February top. This is going to be an important one. If we lose this support level and we continue to head back down, if you look at the 1-year chart, it's very obvious. But we have a very large double top that could be forming right now in the market. So something to keep in mind. You can see the RSI went negative today, as well as giving us that sell signal. Total volume, though, I have to say was, you know, we were looking about the same. So we didn't get an impulse, if you will, on volume as far as this big decline today. But you do notice that that VIX, those Bollinger Bands are finally stretching a little bit. And part of that is because we are now experiencing more volatility. And you can see that the VIX is on this inverted scale. We got very high readings today, punctured the lower band. We've had punctures of that lower band. Typically, when you get those punctures, you're going to get a shoot to the upside, a rally pop maybe the next day or two. But that's really not what happened, is it? We ended up with the VIX staying below this moving average. That's a problem. That tells you that there's internal weakness. And so that was already telling us that even though we got those punctures, we did end up getting our little rally pop here, but it didn't turn into a whole lot, especially when you look at what happened today. And now we've got this really wide climactic reading here on the VIX. It'll be interesting to see, and I'm going to check and see if my climactic indicator chart has updated yet. Here we go, not quite yet. But what I will be watching for are these climactic readings to the positive or to the negative here. If they stretch beyond these blue boundary lines, that tells you have a climactic reading. If we put a climactic reading together with this this VIX that just stretched out so low like this, we could be looking at a selling exhaustion here, and we might actually get that move to the upside. But I need to see what's going on with those climactic indicators. I want to know if we've got some net advanced decline numbers and net advanced decline volume that's going to tell me something. And our DP Alert subscribers, no problem for you. You are going to know exactly what this chart looks like when we finish with it for the day and it is updated. And I will give you my read on the climax on this chart and see if we really are seeing that climactic behavior from the net AD after the close today, after they update. It is after the close, my bad. All right, so I was going to look at the other sell signals. So I'm going to go take us down here to my other chart list. All right, and so the Dow was one we were talking about, and there's its PMO sell signal that has struck down this early October buy signal that we saw. You can see 2.29% decline right here on the Dow, the industrials. It has broken the 50-day EMA yet again. So next up, the 200-day EMA. That needs to be where we're going to have to hold that support. Otherwise, you're looking also on this chart at a possible large, longer-term double top here. So we want to watch that very closely, because if we get down here, we drop below the 200-day EMA, that could signal that we're going to get the execution of this pattern. That will be the confirmation line. So the 200-day EMA and the confirmation line for this double top are going to be coming together here soon. All right, let's look at its monthly chart really quickly so you can see when I'm talking about that sell signal. So you can see we've spent most of 2020 here coming back up out with positive momentum for the Dow, basically coming out of that bear market low. And we were getting the rise, but we never got close enough to get that buy signal and cancel out that PMO monthly or long-term sell signal. So, you know, at this point now we're starting to curve over. I would really not want to see a top below this signal line on the monthly chart. We'll have to take a closer look at this next, let's see, on Friday, this chart will go final. So I will be writing about that in the weekly wrap with Carl. All right, NASDAQ 100, here's the other one we have. There we go. And there's the PMO sell signal that came in here. And then finally on the OAX, take a quick peek. And there you go, there's the PMO sell signal that's come up there. And you'll notice on all of these that double top that looks like it is forming. So it's a little dangerous right now. The markets are weak. There's a lot of uncertainty, obviously, with the election coming up next week and the stimulus discussions, which who knows where we're going to be on that. It obviously isn't going to come before the election. But the market really isn't happy about this uncertainty. It doesn't mind gridlock in politics, but it doesn't like uncertainty. All right, so we are getting ready to have a lot of earnings reports coming out this week. And so I'm going to go through a few, but I have basically the big ones that I've marked down for the rest of this week. So the first one up is Microsoft. Microsoft will be reporting tomorrow. And as you can see, not a good day for Microsoft. It's now breaking down below its 50-day EMA, not a picture you want to see. Although I have to say, and I'm going to annotate this very quickly, I'll annotate some of these, not all of them. Here we go, let's make that thick. All right, what we could be looking at though here is a lovely cup and handle there. Well, it's supposed to be straight, but I think you get the picture. But anyway, cup, handle, so we could see a breakout to the upside for Microsoft, but I have to say we're looking at the same situation here as we are in the major markets. Of course, Microsoft, a big driver of what's going on in the S&P 500. So you can see we have that PMO sell signal that's come in, and you have the RSI turning negative. One of the other things to note is a reverse divergence going on here. And this is something to pay attention to, I think, for Microsoft especially. So when we're looking, I'm going to point you out to this thumbnail over here. This is the on-balance volume. Notice we have a higher top than the previous top. So this matches up with this price top here. And obviously this top is matching up to the top right there. So what we can see is that even though we had this huge increase in volume, enough to push the OBV past this previous price top, we had that extra volume and never came even close to challenging the top that we had on this OBV bar. So despite increased accumulation and volume, you did not see a higher price top. And so that's something that is to be kept in mind. So even though this does have that cup and handle, looks like a very positive shaped chart here, the loss of the 50-day EMA and its close beneath it, I wouldn't be hanging my hat on this cup and handle formation. So that's Microsoft, and they report tomorrow. So now let's move on to Wednesday. On Wednesday, October 28th, we have Ford reporting. And Ford, obviously, we're seeing a lot of action in these car makers. And I know a lot of people have been scratching their heads about it. And I've talked to some of my subscribers in the Diamond Mine about this and in email between each other. And that is, right now, you know, renewable energy is doing quite well. And now you've got Ford, GM, and a bunch of other car makers really going all in on the EV, the electronic vehicle group. So what you're seeing are money makers, big time money makers, finally buying into the fact that, okay, it may be Ford, you know, good old dependable company, but, you know, you can see it didn't do much at all. But it seems that now that seems to be, money is starting to flow into these car companies. And I think that that is the reason why. And this nice pullback on Ford could offer an opportunity for an entry. You can see that support level crosses all the way over here. So liking Ford, it is reporting earnings on Wednesday. Western Digital is another one that is, there we go, WDC, is that? Yes, Western Digital. They also report earnings on Wednesday. Not liking this chart at all. We do have a positive RSI, but this is a big problem. Notice previously how price has come up to test the 200-day EMA and has failed. And it failed again. We did poke above it, didn't manage to close above it, but now we're falling back down. 20 and 50-day EMA are here for support. The PMO did tick a little bit, you know, it's decelerating, obviously, with two big declines coming on Friday and on today. But we're still seeing rising momentum overall, and we still have a positive RSI. This one with Western Digital reporting, and again, I don't recommend buying into earnings or holding through earnings. It's typically it's a risky proposition. Hasbro, I think, is a good example. They had a really nice upside earnings surprise, and they were down 10% today. So you just don't know. And with the market as soft as it is right now, you have to just be very careful. So as you can see, we hit that 200 and pulled back down. If we can find support along the 20 and 50-day EMA, I might have a better picture here of Western Digital. And we'll have to see what it does with earnings, but seeing this pullback right now, either it's going to offer a nice opportunity to get in. You can see how that's a support level and a resistance level back here. This is a really important area. It needs to hold. All right, next day on Thursday, and this is where we have all of the big ones coming up. So let's take a look at some of their charts. eBay is going to be reporting. And there you are. eBay obviously losing momentum. It's trying to come back alive here and get back above that 20 and 50-day EMA. RSI is negative, but mostly neutral right now. This is the big problem, the big loop here top on the PMO, and we're getting ready to go in for a sell signal. And this is happening just as it had gotten into positive territory, and now it's failing. Don't want to see that. Also, OBV, you can see the declining tops here, and they are confirming this decline. At this point, we still have the rising trend preserved, but I'm not liking the look of the eBay chart that much right now going into earnings. I think there's some problems here. Next one, Shopify. Shopify will also be reporting earnings, and they're going to report on Thursday. Like I said, we're in Thursday. A lot of these possible cup and handle shapes, but the issue I have are these handles are awfully long. So usually don't want to see that pullback go that far. But we are finding support here for Shopify on the 50-day EMA. The RSI is technically positive at 51, but mostly neutral. This is a problem, though. We have the PMO sell signal, but it's already trying to make a turn here. This level of support, you can see where it bounced, is right here at these August lows. So this is a good spot for it to make that turn. If it can't make it above the 20-day EMA and continue higher, Shopify's not going to be your best bet either, based on the fact we've lost the momentum and we have that sell signal. And notice, we had a bad day today. Friday was not that bad. And you can see that in most of these cases that the damage started back then. So this is just confirmation that we're getting as these are falling. Obviously a good day for Shopify. Like I said, needs to hold that 1,000 level, or I would definitely be concerned about it. Next up is Twitter. Like I said, I hope you're enjoying all of these charts. This is pretty much what I do in my free trading rooms on Monday, so I feel like I'm doing just a reprise right now. If you want to join me in the free trading rooms, I recommend you go right to our website at DecisionPoint.com. Sign up for our free newsletter right here, and you will get all of the information on how to get into our trading room. I also try to send out the videos or interviews that I've done the prior week on Fridays, or today I'm going to send some out on Monday. So that's where you want to sign up. That's where you can take part in the free trading room, where I do exactly pretty much what I'm doing right now. All right, so now we're looking at Twitter. It's an internet stock. This is an area that I've actually been comfortable in as far as technology goes. Semiconductors had been a very strong space. Concern I have right now when I look at Twitter is a possible reverse island setting up. But other than that, it's just not that negative of a chart. We are seeing the PMO tick downward, but we had an almost 3% decline today. That has helped move the RSI out of overbought territory with not that much damage. So the 20-day EMA is what you're going to be watching for as support. We could end up with this reverse island coming back down here, testing that 20-day EMA. 50-day EMA is really the last ditch. If it can't hold the 20, it better hold the 50. At this point, though, with the margin I'm seeing between the 20 and 50-day EMAs, 20-day EMA. And with a soft market, that's what you're going to be wanting to look for as a possible buy point if you wanted to get in. If you're holding, make sure that it stays above that 20, and at last ditch would be at that 50-day EMA. So Twitter, I think, is still looking good. Just with all of these stocks, especially if you hold them, and I imagine a lot of you hold Twitter, Amazon, as we're going to look at now. So just keep these levels in mind. Here we go with Amazon. It had the PMO sell signal come in last week. Again, we were already getting signs of the weakness that we are seeing today, more than likely. Amazon was up slightly today. It's hanging on, clinging to the 20 and 50-day EMA as support, and it needs to hold that, in my opinion. 3,100, that is a good spot for it to be bouncing. So let's keep an eye on this one. Right now, the RSI is technically negative, but it's more in that neutral position. The problem is overcoming this PMO sell signal and that momentum that's going on there. All right. Next up, after Amazon, is Apple. Apple will also be reporting on Thursday. You know, it's been really not doing a whole lot, honestly, as of late. You know, we're in this kind of trading area right above the 50-day EMA. At this point, we have a sell signal in the PMO. We have the RSI declining along with price, needs to hold that 50-day EMA. We're getting ready to go into earnings. There's questions about the iPhone 12 and how that's going to relate to all of this. We could be looking at that cup and handle, but again, that handle is awfully long. This is just that declining trend that we're in, and it appears that it is not a falling wedge. This does look like a declining trend channel. So not looking for much out of Apple, just a no going into earnings. That 50-day EMA really needs to be the support that holds. Last ditch, if it doesn't hold that, this 105 area you can see. And, you know, again, I know a lot of people hold Apple, and it's just something to consider. Most of your holds are long-term, and I can respect that. Just remember that we could be looking at double tops here developing. This is the weekly chart for Apple. And look what's going on the weekly chart. We have a sell signal that is coming in. So just be aware, be on your toes here, even with Apple. And here you can see that reverse divergence setup here too. More volume coming in, new top on the OBV, but not nearly the same on price, and that's a problem. All right, let's look at Google, Facebook, and then I'll show you one more of what is reporting on Friday, and then we will look at the diamond of the week. So first off, let's see, we still need to look at Google and Facebook, which also report on Thursday. All right, Google's taken a hit. It's still well above its 20 and 50-day EMAs. RSI is still positive. You're on an intermediate term trend model buy signal. And also you've got the PMO headed upward and is not overbought. Google still looks good. Even, you know, there's not much in the way of damage here. Yes, it was a 3% pullback, but that really is helping keep it out of overbought territory on the RSI. So I have to say, going into earnings, I think Google looks pretty good here, despite the big pullback. And Facebook, there we go. Facebook. All right, Facebook, we have the PMO buy signal currently. RSI is positive. Everything's rising. Facebook still looks healthy. You've got a healthy scooter here, StockCharts technical rank. I like the chart. There's really nothing wrong with it right now. You even can see that we had popped above overhead resistance here. It's coming down with the market, of course. I'm sure helping to lead it downward with a 2.7% move to the downside. Could be looking at a possible reverse island, but the way it's shaped, the fact it's getting, we're seeing it more of a broadening pattern there. I'm not really too concerned about it being a reverse island. Key are those 20 and 50-day EMAs. You could even make that rising trend channel right there, and that would hook you up right there at those 20 and 50-day EMAs. But I have to say, Facebook is poised, looking pretty good going into earnings. All right, now we are moving on to Friday, October 30th. Who is reporting earnings? Well, it's a lot of oil companies, but before I look at those, I'm going to look at Under Armour. This one does report on Friday as well. You can see that it got very, very overbought. Today's 5% decline didn't really harm the rising trend at all at this point. And like I said, it's good. It took it out of overbought territory. It's getting ready to report earnings. Apparel, clothing, I mean, those have been doing fairly well. Like I said, I won't speculate on where it's going to be, but the 200-day EMA, you can see right here at the 1250 level, right in there, that's going to be the support level we want to see hold on Under Armour going into earnings or after earnings. At this point, I don't see enough damage here to, if I were holding this, to sell it necessarily, but we do have a PMO that is quite overbought, but lots of accumulation here. It's time for some distribution, and that's what we're seeing today. So looking for a pullback to the 20-day EMA more than likely, unless we get that rally pop. Okay. Let's move into the others on Friday. And like I said, these are pretty much in the energy space. ExxonMobil will be reporting. This area of the market, obviously very depressed, hasn't been doing quite well. You can see that 20-day EMA has really posed difficult overhead resistance. The difference we have right now in comparison to previously is that we do have a PMO buy signal right now. The RSI is still negative, but this is a fairly beat down stock. Now it is currently trading below both below the 5, 20, 50, and 200-day EMAs. This is not a stock that I would be looking to get into. Now I know people might be trying to get in early on oil and energy stocks in general, but we do need to wait and see what's going to happen with this market. It's weak, and I just don't see these guys leading the market upward. I think they need some wind at their backs. And look at this OBV just continuing to be in decline here, even with these price tops in decline. So it's confirming the decline. A little bit concerned there about ExxonMobil going into earnings. CVX, I think we have a very similar pattern going on. Although we have a PMO that's not rising anymore, it has tilted lower. And then finally, PSX, Phillips 66, also integrated oil and gas. And you can see it's getting ready to test new lows since coming out of the bear market. We're continuing lower. And so we're looking at lows now that are going to be back here in that correction territory from the bear market. So 20-day EMA still, 50-day EMA still posing very difficult overhead resistance. All right. Lots of talk. All right, it's time for the diamond of the week. We were talking about the car companies. I presented a car company on Thursday, Fiat Chrysler. And since I recommended on Thursday, I mean, obviously we're up slightly here. I think we're going to see more. When I picked it before, we hadn't broken out above this September top. We now have done that. You've got the PMO on a buy signal. Look at it straight up. Momentum is going very nicely here. Yes, right now the RSI is getting overbought. It can stay there for a little while, but typically when it gets there, it wants to make a pullback. So prepare. So I think that this one still has some upside to go, especially when I look at this PMO and I look at the volume that's just pouring in right now on Fiat Chrysler. So I think autos are looking good. Ford is another one. I could say I didn't make this one a diamond, but let's see if I can get that in there. This is another one you can see that's looking very good. It's been above that September top for quite some time, and it beat out its June top as well. So that is it for the Diamond of the Week and the Decision Point show. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, Diamond of the Week, FCAU. Happy trading. Good rest of the week to you.
Hey, Grayson Rhodes here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.